Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Lukas. I'm from Gnosis. I'm leading the Gnosis Safe project there. Maybe to start off, a quick show of hands. Who knows what Gnosis Safe is? Okay. Most of you, like, who's actually using Gnosis Safe yourself as a signer? Or, okay. For those who don't know, Gnosis Safe is basically the most secure way to manage digital assets in Web3, to store and manage digital assets. And why is it important that you have like the most secure way to manage these assets? It's that Web3 still feels very much like Wild West, and that's in like the good and the bad way. Let me maybe elaborate a bit on that. The good way, like kind of how I would imagine the Wild West to be. I haven't been there, so I don't know. But it's like this new uncharted territory, which like allows to have a lot of freedom for everyone to kind of like build new things, detached from kind of the old structures. Yeah, lots of opportunities, and yeah, a lot of individual freedom. But this also comes with like the bad things. If kind of there's a lot of kind of individual freedom, this also means individual responsibility. And especially because it's kind of like a new territory, like a new systems being built, there's little protections that can kind of help the individual there, and that's also providing kind of like a incentive for bad actors to abuse this, to kind of yeah, abuse the responsibility everyone has and kind of attack individual ones. And that's kind of also the same we experience in Web3 today, is that, yeah, it's amazing, like we're building new technologies, new ecosystems, like we're exploring many new things, from rethinking how governance works, how digital identities work, like how we transact with each other, how we build marketplaces. We give a lot of freedom to individuals. Like people finally are able to kind of aren't being in control of their own assets, of their own identity, to transact with whoever they want. But then also this means that everyone is responsible themselves in kind of ensuring the security of their assets. And this, of course, provides kind of like a big attack surface for anyone to kind of attack and to kind of abuse this from, yeah, kind of, yeah, and to maybe share some examples there, and kind of the source problem behind it is really that most people using Web3 today are doing so using a private key-based account or externally owned account, EOA. And what this really is an account that's controlled directly by a single digital private key. So that means it's a private key that has full kind of root level access to an account, to all its assets on it, to all kind of its affiliations. And if a user has access to this private key, they can do whatever they please to do. They can transact freely. Yeah, they are in full ownership. But it also means that if a user does not have access to this private key, they cannot do anything. And also, on the flip side, it means if someone else gains access to this private key, they can also do whatever they please to do. There's no security protection there in between kind of the user and the transaction. And this leads to some challenges where, like, how do you then store this private key? And we came a long way kind of abstracting away this like random numbers and letters with seed phrases. At least this is something that you can kind of write down. You can store it securely offline. But yeah, just I personally don't think this is going to be the solution to it. I know too many people who still store their passwords in kind of like Apple Notes on their phone. And if they're going to do the same thing with their seed phrase, this is going to get quite messy. So yeah, seed phrases are still not the solution there. Also, like some people say, yeah, this is just kind of an educational problem. We just need to teach people how to securely store seed phrases, how to kind of give them the tools to operate and to kind of have kind of security best practices. But in fact, even today, we see the most experienced Web3 users, the most technical users, still occasionally kind of being victim of hacks or compromised keys. So if that happens, how should we then think that like a regular non-technical users should be able to do that? And yeah, I don't think this is a fair assumption to make. and especially because this is also a big honeypot for like phishing attacks to get more sophisticated. Whereas phishing attacks in Web2 have been around, kind of compromising data, but in Web3, attackers can directly compromise assets, can directly compromise money. So this is like a much bigger incentives for phishing like attackers to get more sophisticated, to build more ways to go around and kind of trick users into doing something they don't want to do, or like losing their assets. And one thing that's also amplifying there is that really no one really understands what they're signing if like MetaMask is popping up. Like we've also improved there, but in the end, like most people I would think are still, if MetaMask is popping up, they don't even read what's kind of displayed there, and they're just trusting that this is all right and just going ahead with it. Yeah, and this just means that you're always, because there's really just this one private key in between kind of you and your assets. It's just this one click that can compromise your entire account. And so technically everyone should read, kind of understand exactly what data they're signing, but in fact this is not what we see in reality. And this goes beyond like individuals. So like issues with compromised private keys are all around, with projects, with DeFi protocols, with companies also experiencing hacks and compromised private keys. So DeFi protocols, but also like very essential infrastructure such as bridges, which leads to multiple hundreds of millions of assets being compromised. And so there's just kind of this huge honeypot out there, and like worst case, this leads to an incentive to even apply physical force to compromise private keys. Luckily, we don't see this too often nowadays, but I'm sure if kind of the adoption of private key-based accounts continues, so like everyone has somewhere like their seed phrase stored at their home, or like is running around with like their wallet on their phone, this just gets more and more of like a reason for criminals to use also physical force. And I don't want to live in a world where I have to run around with bodyguards in order to make sure that I'm not getting kidnapped or getting blackmailed. So what's really the solution there? So I've been kind of shitting on these accounts for 5 minutes now, but I should now have proposed something to make it better. And that's where the shilling starts, because that's where Gnosis Safe, that's what we want to solve by building kind of a solution for all these problems. And Gnosis Safe, for those who don't know kind of in detail, it's really a programmable account. Programmable, what does it mean? It means that you can kind of define freely how an account is being accessed, and you can build security systems around an account that can kind of protect you around kind of like this, these attack vectors that are inherent of private key accounts. And so most people might mainly know Gnosis Safe from kind of the multi-signature ability. So that's the idea that you have not just one key controlling your account, but you might have 2, 3, 4 keys that control your account, and you can even say, I don't need all of them to make a transaction. Maybe it's enough to have like 2 or 3 of the 4 keys to make a transaction. And what this allows is that you can say, I might have some keys that I have kind of easy access to. Maybe one key is on my phone, one key is on my hardware wallet, and they have access rights in an account. I already reduced this way kind of this single point of failure, where you just have like this one private key. But then you can also have keys that might be like very securely stored in like a Swiss bank account or something like that, which allow you to set up like a backup system in case you lose these kind of like carry on keys. That's kind of like the basic way how most users today use Gnosis Safe, and that already kind of makes it much more secure to interact with Web3 applications today. But actually the vision behind Gnosis Safe goes way beyond that, because kind of the programmability means that you can do anything that you can code in Solidity, you can use as a way to kind of extend the access control of your Gnosis Safe. So that means you can implement permissions. For example, many DAOs use Gnosis Safe, and in a DAO you might want to give permissions to the token holders directly, meaning you might have like a core team that's like managing a treasury, but you want to have the token holders also have some kind of impact on this treasury and trigger transactions. So you can add additional permissions there to do transactions. You can even do limited permissions. So you say you might have like a very secure setup, so with like multiple private keys, but you want to have like a less secure one or like an easy access setup for smaller transactions. Say you want to have like a limit, like a daily limit to spend 500 DAI, and then you don't need to collect all keys. But if you want to make a bigger transactions of like 1,000, 10,000 DAI, you need to actually go and collect these keys to conduct a transaction. That's permissions. Then you can also implement transaction checks. What this means is that you can say for this particular safe, there's like a set of checks that need to be done with every transaction in order for the transaction to be executed. What you can do with that is that you can, for example, limit the scope of a safe, saying that this safe, it shouldn't be allowed to do anything. It should just be allowed to do like a certain number of contract interactions or call like a certain functions in a contract or something like that. You can also have transaction checks where you say you have full control over your account, but with every transaction you loop in like a third party, a trusted third party, and they need to also kind of attest to this transaction. So this third party cannot do anything with your account directly, but they can kind of attest a trusted transaction. And this could be, for example, be used for like insurance providers, where they say we insure your transactions, but only if you have our kind of go-ahead for this transaction, and you can build nice products out of that. That was transaction checks. You can also implement recovery schemes. Some examples there is that you might have control via your private keys, but in the worst case where you lose all your private keys, you don't even have your backup keys anymore. You might have a mechanism where you can go to like a group of friends, to family members or so on, coordinate with them and recover access to your account. You could have also, again, like a trusted party involved, like a financial institution where you say, I can kind of go through like a KYC process, prove that this is actually my account, and then they might have some system to give you back access. Maybe they have to place a bond in order to, that there's ways to make this in a way that's actually also trustless and where the third party cannot just kind of compromise your account this way, but this is just something that could also be explored. And finally, you can also do automations where you say your safe might have some actions that are being done automatically in case certain other events happen. For example, that you kind of protect like the collateral that you might have in a lending protocol in case of the collateral ratio being becoming too small. There's kind of an automated transaction there that kind of saves your collateral. These things can be done as well. So in the end, through this programmability, you really just have kind of this freedom of creating many different things on top of this kind of account standard. And so we think that we can never eliminate phishing, we can never eliminate user errors. These things are just there, and we rather kind of build better solutions to address them, better solutions that when these things happen, when someone signs a wrong transaction, when someone makes like a human error, that these things are not as detrimental. So you have safety nets, you have some mechanisms that kind of protect users in that way, and that's kind of the antidote that we see to these very simple private key-based accounts. That's where kind of the power of Gnosis Safe comes. And so we're building ourselves kind of this integrated solution, like a set of mobile and web app that allows you to create safe accounts, to manage your assets, to interact with Web3 applications. And this is kind of like a product that we are building. But actually, like the idea behind Gnosis Safe is that we're building this framework, this middleware where others can build upon. So we're kind of providing the protocol, and we're providing infrastructure, and we're also providing interfaces which others can then extend and can build very specific solutions, very specific experiences that might tailor to like NFT collectors, that might tailor to DAO treasury managers, that might tailor to enterprise clients, and that there's kind of this ecosystem of tools and solutions being built on top of what we provide. And there's already about, I think now it's roughly 20 front ends that kind of tap into this infrastructure that we build. So that's from Parcel and CoinShift, who are like focusing more on the DAO treasury use case. It's Linen, that's more for the retail investors. It's Rabby, which is a browser extension which also integrates Safe. So we really want to kind of push others, such as wallets and kind of solution providers, treasury solutions, to integrate with the Safe and leverage this power of this programmable account under the hood. Yeah, and we actually set up now last week a designated foundation to kind of foster this ecosystem, to really have like an entity focused on providing help to building infrastructure for others to build upon. You might know kind of Gnosis as doing like many different things, and we just realized that we need something that's having like a stronger focus, and that's really kind of the sole purpose is building out this ecosystem, and this is building out these other teams that are leveraging Gnosis Safe. And we're already preparing kind of like a first campaign through that, the Safe Guardians campaign that's initiated by the foundation, that's kind of supporting these teams that are building on the Safe and providing the right incentives. But that's really just a sneak peek. It's still quite early on. So yeah, if this sounded interesting, if you like a wallet provider, or you think somehow you could leverage Safe under the hood, please approach me. I'm also going to be at the Gnosis booth afterwards, and also take any questions now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, yeah, we are ready to take questions from the audience. Anyone's got any questions?
Yes, thank you for the presentation. One question, do you have any mechanism considering a dead man switch, which is a way to trigger an owner losing something like that, where you could trigger a recovery of beneficiary or something which could be configured in Gnosis Safe wallet?
We don't have this built by ourselves. I think that there was a project in the past that did like a proof of concept of that, but it's definitely possible. Like, this is the idea of this extensibility, this modularity, that you can build these recovery mechanisms yourselves, or like a company could go ahead and build these and provide this as a solution. I don't think there's like a production-ready solution at this point, but it could be quite interesting for someone at the hackathon or something to take this on.
Thanks much for the great presentation, but it wasn't quite clear how mature is the basic product?
Well, there's right now about $80 billion of assets stored on the Safe, and most of it via kind of the...
I know Gnosis Safe. I mean, this smart safe. How mature is it? Is it concept level? Is it production that people can build on? The smart safe.
What's the smart safe?
Well, weren't you saying that, or is this a new version of Gnosis Safe which would have all of these additional features?
Well, you're referring to this one, right? So, I mean, this is kind of the concept of the Gnosis Safe on kind of the protocol level. The product that we currently have out there built by ourselves, it leverages some of them. So we have, for example, in the permission section, we do have like a spending limits feature in our product to kind of showcase how this would work, how you can set like daily, monthly, yearly permissions. Like the others, we don't leverage too much today, but there's other solutions that do, that are also production ready.
But do they like integrate with the already deployed Gnosis Safe?
Sorry?
So how exactly like do you add those modules, or are they already the part of the product?
So I mean, the modules are added on a contract level. So if you deploy a safe, you can immediately add a module, but you can also add it later on. And this can be abstracted away from the user quite a bit, where kind of a module enables new functionality, and you just expose the functionality, and they don't need to know that there's a module. Ideally, you show it so that you're not surprised if suddenly you see that there's a module attached. But yeah, in terms of the spending limit that we provide, like this is something that users need to opt into. We don't deploy safes natively with this module. So if someone wants to use spending limits, they go into our interface, they see, I want to have this feature enabled. It says, like, you need to enable this module to do so. And after you've done that, you can add spending limits and do that.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else?
You mentioned about having the grant fund available to try and encourage ecosystem partners to build on top and make use of these different features. Are you planning to continue extending the Gnosis app itself to start using some of these features, or are you going to kind of like offload that to the community via the grant program? Yeah,
so our goal is that the safe interfaces part there becomes as modular as possible, so that it allows you to use the interface that we built and kind of add functionality to it, like build these, like customize it as much as possible, and provide kind of ways to kind of expose your solution to users. But we also want to encourage others to kind of build the full segregated, like separate solutions that are not living inside our interfaces. So yeah, like right now we have this way to create safe apps. That's like UI extensions in our UI that you can kind of build these use cases in our interfaces. But yeah, there's, as you see, also like others that build completely different front ends. And yeah, our goal is that the interfaces enable more and more that you don't need to build different front ends, that have the interface becomes more of like an operating system, which then can be customized however kind of what use case you have. But yeah, this is going to be kind of the long-term idea. I'm not sure, like in the next 1-2 years we will be there.
So it seems that we are done with the questions. Thank you very much. It was really useful. And I think like a lot of people are using your products already in the audience, as we've seen. I do as well. So yeah, really good to listen to you.